So welcome. Today we start a new project, cooking with Francis, family and friends.
I like coconuts, you can break them open, they smell like ladies.
How cool, but you can tell it's cool. Can of stewed tomatoes, 1 can of green chilies, 3½ cups. We'll be using a lot of my mother's recipes that go way back and come forward to using more modern products as well. Today we're doing Gaga's basic custard. And I tell you, you can use fresh eggs, fresh milk, and make a beautiful custard that you can make it whatever you want, as easy as you can open a box. So we're starting today. We have 2 cups of milk. I'm using 2% milk because that's what I use. You can use whatever you want. Make it as rich as you care to do. But you just heat the milk on the stove. I'm beating 3 eggs. You want to beat them as much as you can because you want to develop the egg whites to make a fluffy custard. You'll find that when you use room temperature eggs, this will all go faster and you'll have a better result. 4 tablespoons of flour, just regular all-purpose flour, and 1/2 cup of sugar. And I like this because 1/2 cup of sugar for the amount of custard that's going to be made, it's not that much. So it's not a really heavily sweet custard. Now, Gaga called it basic custard. By the way, Gaga was my mom, and she wanted to be called Granny when I had the first grandchild. He didn't talk too well, so he couldn't say Granny, so it came out Gaga. And it stuck through all the subsequent grandchildren and great-grandchildren. She thought it sounded like someone was choking, but she answered to it anyway. So now we have 3 eggs, 1/2 cup of sugar, and 4 tablespoons of flour. Now our milk is hot, certainly not boiling. And then we're going to add it, and using a whisk, mix it in as you add it to your milk. Mix it all up nice. I like to keep whisking as it heats because the heat, you have to have a pretty high heat to thicken the custard. The flour has to come to a pretty high temperature, and if you keep using your whisk or spoon or whatever you choose to use, it keeps the temperature cooler so that it develops its heat slower, and you end up with a nice, smooth, creamy custard. And it doesn't take more than 2 or 3 minutes for it to develop into the consistency that you want. You can tell by the feel, it'll start, it isn't thickening yet. Once it starts thickening, it will thicken pretty quick. If you want to use this as a custard in a custard dish, you wouldn't need it to be as thick as if you're going to use it for a pie. I'm going to do it with a pie today. I have already done one, and I added coconut to it. I added a cup of flaked coconut. To this, I'm going to add a cup of chocolate chips. And voila, we will have a chocolate icebox pie. That's why she called it basic custard, because you can add whatever you want or nothing at all. You would use this also if you wanted to make a banana pudding. You would leave it simple like this, add your bananas and your vanilla wafers. I will be doing chocolate, like I said. If you wanted a banana cream pie, you would have your prepared crust. You would add sliced bananas. I'm going to finish off both of these with whipped cream. I usually put it on the pie. You can certainly put it on the side. People can add it if they want to. Now this is getting pretty thick. I'm going to start seeing some bubbles around the edge of the pan, sort of drawing away from it. When I put my whisk through it, it pulls away from the side of the pan. That's my signal that it's the thickness that I want. And we're almost there. If you keep using your whisk the whole time, it's a very smooth, very creamy pudding. We're just about there. It's pulling away. Now I'm going to add a teaspoon of vanilla. I find that the vanilla caps are just about a teaspoon. It isn't rocket science. So even though I'm putting chocolate in it, you want to develop a flavor on all levels. I'm going to be adding 1 cup of chocolate chips. Same kind of chocolate chips that you use for cookies. You'll find that they melt very quickly. If you want, start out with less if you're not a heavy chocolate lover, or you can do more. It's your pudding, you can do whatever you want with it. I have found that a cup to this recipe is the way my family likes their chocolate pie, which is what this will become. At the end of the day, maybe it hadn't been your best day. You know, if you come home and mix butter and chocolate and something else, the day gets a lot better immediately. And you will notice that this recipe fills an 8 or 9-inch pie shell just perfectly. I'm as frightened of making pie crust as everybody. My mother would not understand it. This is a refrigerated pie shell that I cooked, and with the pudding as good as it is, it's a great service to the custard, and I guarantee you no one's going to ask if you made the pie crust from scratch, because they're going to enjoy the whole thing. So now we're adding the whipped cream to the chocolate pie. It has cooled enough. It's not refrigerated, but it's cooled enough. If you add the whipped cream too soon, it disintegrates on top of the custard, and it's just not it's not what you want it to be. So we have just let it cool off in the room, and now we will refrigerate it. So once again, we have Gagas basic custard, which is 2 cups of milk, 3 eggs, preferably at room temperature, 4 tablespoons of flour, and a 1/2 cup of sugar that is mixed, then added slowly into the milk and cooked until it thickens to the desired consistency. You either add nothing at all, a cup of coconut, a cup of chocolate chips, sliced bananas, or anything else that you think your family might enjoy.